Thank you all for coming today. This is the New York City Accessibility Meetup. We are the world's largest accessibility meetup, but maybe not the best. We have a special guest today too here, Jennison Asuncion from this SFBay Meetup. Thank you, Jennison, for joining us. We are in the Asana offices. Asana is a project management software that helps teams work better together. I work at Asana. I'm a software engineer on the accessibility team at Asana. We are hiring. We're hiring for a software engineering role, and we will soon be hiring for a PM role. So if you're interested in talking about working at Asana, it's an amazing place to be. Come talk to me or talk to Garrett back there. So I wanted to say thank you to Equal Entry, to Google, Evinced, Fable, and the Internet Society of New York for generously sponsoring the meetup. And again, to Asana for hosting us here at the space. So without further ado are my co-organizers in crime, Meryl Evans and Thomas Logan. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So to start off, I put a little cute bit, I hope, up here on the screen. It's our 9th birthday. It's our 9-year anniversary of this meetup. So, and Sean, who's also here in the back, Sean and Cameron and I have been doing this meetup from 9 years ago, and it's really exciting to have all of us here today. It's probably been a little bit of some time since we've all three been in the room since we started this meetup, so it's great to have everyone here today. On the screen, because we're talking about AI and automation, I used a DALL-E image to create a birthday picture for us. 9-year anniversary balloons with the text A11Y NYC is what I put into the AI. And what got generated by the AI is there are blue and white balloons, but there's just numbers like 9, Y, YS, 8. So a lot of work to go on AI for image generation. Here's another one. I said, colorful image to celebrate the 9th birthday of a meetup named A11Y NYC. You will see on the screen there's a lot of large numbers like the number 8, 9. I don't know why 8 is important with that prompt. And you do see some images of people in wheelchairs. I think, AI is trained maybe on that's a visual to represent this topic of A11Y. Again, can't really explain why this was done, but I like this thing too, ONYYLTHABY. It almost seems like baby. But yeah. So I did this as just a beginning part to say maybe as we think about AI, we're going to be talking about the uses in captioning and transcription today, but thought this was a fun place to start to say that maybe we can be happy that AI for speech recognition is better than this, and there's a lot of room to grow very much in the image generation, and there's also a lot of room to grow in the captioning that we'll be talking about today. I'd like to also introduce Jennison Asuncion, who surprised me today and is here from San Francisco. I'm going to hand the mic to you, Jennison, just to give a quick intro from the GAD Foundation. We're really honored to have Jennison here, and Jennison is who sparked us starting this meetup in New York City. So thank you, Jennison, for being here, and I'll hand you the mic.
We have this down pat. Hey, good evening, everyone. I also want to send greetings from your sister meetup in the Bay Area called A11Y Bay, which you're all welcome to join. Our meetings at East Coast time are a little later, but if you use your favorite search engine, you can find A11Y Bay. We always love to have East Coast folks join us on our virtual. Just want to spend like 2 minutes talking a little bit about the GAD, or Global Accessibility Awareness Day Foundation. Are most of you familiar with Global Accessibility Awareness Day? Yeah, awesome, cool. So back in 2021, we celebrated our 10th anniversary for GAD. And so Joe Devon and I decided, well, we're not busy enough. Let's spin something else up. So we spun up something called the Global Accessibility Awareness Day Foundation. And if you go to gad.foundation, you can read up on all the stuff on what we're doing. But I wanted to talk very briefly about a new program that we just... Oh.
Pause for one moment. Pause.
Holding.
Hold for technical difficulties. Someone just said, "Are captions important or something?" And I love that. Right? We know that. We should do that. And again, we thank you all for being here. This is a new space for us and a new setup. So if you've been to our meetups before, we're always learning. And we appreciate feedback, and we're always trying to improve.
Yeah. Are we back on?
We're back. Jim.
Wow. Okay, cool. So real quick, the mission of the GAD Foundation is to disrupt the culture of technology and digital product development so that accessibility becomes a core requirement. And so one of the things that we launched in December, and I want to make you all aware of, is something called the GAD Speakers Fund. And essentially what that is it's for everyday tech professionals, so people who don't necessarily work in accessibility full-time, but who want to present at an accessibility-focused conference, and vice versa for people who work in digital accessibility full-time, or for people with disabilities or impairments who want to present in person at a non-accessibility related technology event. We are providing grants of up to $3,000 each to cover costs associated with anything from, your airfare, hotel, elder care, if you need to take care of that, or child care, if you need to tend to that, just to allow you to present at those events. And the idea really is to open that conversation up between people who work in digital accessibility and people who work in mainstream tech, and vice versa. So if you go again to gad.foundation, you can read up on that. And this is for people who intend on presenting, so you'd have to send your abstract. There's a bunch of things that you need to send like as an application. But we're hoping that this is part of the answer to meeting our mission, which is really starting at the beginning, which is the conversation. Because as much as those of us in the room think accessibility is the most important thing, there's a whole world out there that doesn't even know accessibility exists. So we're really trying to bridge that gap, hopefully, as part of that with the Speakers Fund. So I encourage all of you to look at that and to consider, again, this is for in-person, of course, presenting, but it's really that opportunity to kind of get in front of people who are not part of the choir. So and that's what we're all about. Okay, so check it out, gad.foundation, and don't forget Global Accessibility Awareness Day this year is on, does anyone know?
May 13th.
Oh, close. Third Thursday of May, May 18th. May 18th. And if you want to keep up to date with that stuff, our website for the Global Accessibility Awareness Day is accessibility.day. So thanks, everyone.
There you go, sir. I see a lot of potential speakers for the Speaker Fund applicants. Thanks, Jennison. Now let's get to our presentation for tonight. Meryl Evans and I are going to be speaking tonight about automatic captions, our experiments, and best practices. I have on the screen a QR code. You don't need to scan this right now, but just know that all of the items that we're referencing in today's presentation are also going to be linked from this QR code, and it will also be shared out on social media to access it. I'm going to hand it now to Meryl.
Thank you, Tommy. So I'm always excited to come to New York City because of the people, to see all of you. But I was extra excited because it was going to be my first Broadway show in a long time. And with caption. I have never been to a live show with caption. And I could not wait to see MJ, the musical about Michael Jackson, as the image showed a playbill with the cover of Michael Jackson. And next to the playbill is my phone that says intermission. Like most Broadway shows, the show uses Gala Pro. So how did it turn out? Well, instead of thriller experience, Gala Pro told me to beat it. Within a few minutes after the show started, the caption got stuck on a line for an hour, a long time. And I wasted a lot of time troubleshooting and getting frustrated instead of fully enjoying the show. So what can be done? I submitted feedback from the app, and it would help if Gallup had instructions saying what to do if the captions don't work right. I don't know if that's possible, but it would help. And then I wasn't going to get up and report it and disturb my fellow theater attendees, make everybody get up so we can get by. I mean, anyway, over to you, Thomas.
Yeah, and I just want to say, the experience was not pleasant for myself either, sitting next to Meryl and thinking we were going to have this great experience. I just think from my standpoint, I even questioned myself, should we have gotten up and walked out, because this just happened at the Sundance Festival at, something with Marlee Matlin attending a juror award, and they did walk out. And it is very disappointing to have this technology be, offered as available and not work. So as Meryl said, I think a best practice should be, what's the backup plan, and or what's the way to report something's not working, because it was definitely not, it was a horrible experience for Meryl, it was a horrible experience for me, being like, wow, this isn't working, because the show is great. If anyone's seen MJ, it's a great show, but it'd be much better if it was accessible. So current events. Why do quality captions matter? Well, that's one reason. Back to you, Meryl.
So, first of all, please note that when I talk about captioning best practices, I'm talking about best practices for everyone, not my personal preference. So often people get so confused. My own personal preference do not play into when I'm talking about captioning publicly, unless I specifically say, I do not like that. Then you know that's my personal preference. Anyway, the number one rule for high quality, accessible captioning is readability. After all, if nobody can read your caption, then none of the other rules matter, right? So people put so much effort into adding caption. It's such a shame when they make bad caption choices that you can't use them. So this is a video, a screenshot of me on a video, side by side, same video. One side says none of the other rules matter, and regular caption, black with white. The other one shows yellow caption with no background, which makes it, as you can see, kind of disappearing into my white skin. So readability includes foreground, background colors, font, and sign. The best captions are boring, so let the video be the star. And they're out of the way until you need them. Tell me.
Great. So we're going to start. We told you we would give you some best practices solutions. Best practice number 1, hire an amazing human captioner. Today we have Mirabai Knight, who is captioning here live in the room, and we've worked with Mirabai from the beginning of doing this meetup. So before we even really delve into the details of what we want to present here, that's already a starting point. Work with a human captioner, because a lot of the things that we are going to be speaking about in today's presentation really illustrate why you can't rely on an AI solution. And we never have at our meetup, and we've really benefited from working with Mirabai Knight. And we will post links for you to contact her. She is available for conferences and some other new experiences. And we've always been really fortunate to get to work with her for our events. And she had a great presentation at Accessibility New York City in March of 2019, Why Human Captioning. So we will also link out to that, but that's a very detailed explanation of a lot of the reasons to consider and not rely on automated captions. Now we're going to dive into our work at Equal Entry on looking at AI captioning services. And what we tried to do was go through 4 very popular services. You may not be familiar with all of these, so we wanted to just first set you up with, these are 4 of the biggest services that exist. The one that I'm sure everyone's familiar with is YouTube, and you are able to receive automated captions for most videos that you upload to YouTube. When you upload a video to YouTube, you set what language the video is being spoken in. You pick one language, and that will typically create AI-generated captions for the video. And after the fact, you can download those subtitles and work with them as a set of formats. And on the screen, I'm showing that you can download some file formats, VTT, SRT, and SBV. And we'll talk about those a little bit later. But I would say this is the most common use case, is people are familiar with, you can upload videos to YouTube and get automated captions. Another cool piece of software that I believe probably many people here wouldn't be familiar with is from Microsoft. It's called Video Manager Azure AI. When you place your video into this system, it is a paid system, so there is a trial where you can get some of this functionality for a certain amount of video content for free, but eventually this model is different from YouTube, where you're paying for each video you upload. So on the screen, I'm showing a video from a previous Accessibility New York City presentation, accessible typefaces, fonts, and text optimizing the reading experience from Jared Smith. That was a great presentation. One of the things that you will see with this tool is that it will actually find keywords inside of the video. It will find labels. It will find named entities. So it's doing some extra logic. It's not only providing you the captions from an AI system, it's also trying to do some semantic understanding of the video, and it's giving you links. So for example, if I click on a named entity of Elijah Wood or Daniel Radcliffe, it's going to jump into the video where that proper noun was mentioned. And it's actually a cool system too for getting translations of captions. You can download translated captions and work with them inside of this tool. Another thing that's pretty interesting in the Video Manager Azure AI is when you download a VTT file, you get a confidence value that is a percentage estimate for how accurate the caption is. So that's pretty cool for developers in the room. You can use something interesting with this to say if something has a 40% confidence versus a 29% confidence, the lower the confidence, the more likely it's incorrect. And so that's something that per line of captions, you can get that from this API. And we didn't do explorations here, but I think it's a really rich area to explore for people that want to improve AI systems. Use these confidence values. The higher it is, maybe tell people don't focus on those areas. Look at the lower confidence value and make sure that those are accurate. So it's an opportunity. Vimeo is another platform. I actually don't know if anyone... Oh. We are pausing for a moment to display the captions in the room. Okay. Oh.
It's better than GalaPro, though. Even big mistakes.
Never mind.
That is better than GalaPro.
I'm just going to jiggle the mouse every 5 minutes.
Okay. So it could be worse. It could be MJ on Broadway with GalaPro. Vimeo, we're not clear if anyone in the room is from Vimeo. Is anyone here work for Vimeo? Okay, no. I'm not sure what Vimeo uses for their AI generation, but it's interesting. We have a paid account with them. It's very fast when you upload a video to Vimeo to get the AI generated captions. I hypothesize they're using maybe a service like rev.com, but I don't know. I don't think they exposed that, who they're using. But you can, if you have a paid Vimeo account, receive the AI captions. So we have done that as part of our research for today's presentation. And the last one is, this is probably a strange looking screenshot. Hugging Face is a GitHub link that we have, but this is using OpenAI. So people that have heard in the news, ChatGPT, DALLE, that we showed the image recognition. This is the AI system that everyone's talking about. This Whisper is OpenAI's system for transcription. And one interesting thing to note for this technology is they have different models for translation. So they have this idea, maybe based off of price and computation time, how many voices do we need to compare against? And so the more computation time you spend, the more accurate the translation is. So it's interesting as a comparison to other AI systems that you can choose based off of what you're willing to pay, how accurate do you want it? And if you choose a large model, it'll be more accurate than a small model typically. All right, now let's go to our test cases. So this was Equal Entry's process, and we're passionate about making captions better. I have to say, working with Meryl has been a huge inspiration to me to understand that captions aren't just you have captions, they need to be good. And also just want to celebrate that the people I work with at Equal Entry are very global and all over the world. So one of the ideas for our test cases was we wanted to highlight that we have English speakers that don't come from an American background. So maybe English, not as a first language, is an interesting use case similar to a person such as Meryl Evans, who was born hearing free, profoundly deaf.
In medical terms, profoundly deaf, but hearing free is more interesting.
You know, this is something that's somewhat known, right? That a lot of these AI systems are really targeted to a default accent or a default voice. So we wanted to highlight in our work that we have people such as Kevin from India, Amanda, who's from Brazil, Japan, Jed from the Philippines, and Kinji from Japan. All of them speak English, but with accents. And we wanted to put that into our thought process in the same way, too, that a person with a deaf accent, a person with an accent from a country that's maybe not trained on these systems may or may not have a good experience with the translation. Skip this. I want to say thank you to Kevin. On the screen, this is just to show you, we're not going to spend a lot of time because we only have, tight limit here, but I put this screen up to show we did do a lot of technical work, and I really thank Kevin for his work on setting up our research. We basically made a Google Sheet that has all of these different test cases that we'll be talking about tonight, and we compared them inside of Vimeo, Azure, YouTube, Whisper. And we came up with some statistics and ways to measure how well they're done. So we did 3 test cases and we did 6 people. And inside of each experience, I can just pull up one of the examples. We have a way to, sorry, I have to pull that up on another screen. Live demo. Here we go. I'm going to pull up some plugin that we made where we actually have this way to upload our videos and automate this. And this is, I think, important as an understanding for professional use cases for captioning. People have tons of multimedia content. So we're sort of emulating this idea that a lot of people are going to be using APIs and automation to get automated captions. And we're trying to add in how can you compare them or look for problems inside of them. So we can pick any video that we created. This is me talking about equal entry. I can say compare captions. And what we've done is create a way for us to pull down the captions from, we call the gold caption the accurate caption. So in our work, we have actually written out what are the right captions, and then we can select a different tool such as Azure and see how many different words did they add, what's the similarity between them. So we'll be talking more about this, I think, in later blog posts, but just want to show you, we're building this to like actually also use it for our meetup here at Accessibility New York. We want to start improving from what we put out, like can we find areas to fix, and can we find problem areas? And so this is something that we, typically if you have what the caption should be, you can do this analysis. And we also have this feature to see where the mistakes are, and we have a visualization too using red and green to sort of put the comparison of what was done in the official caption with the compared caption. And I'm going to keep moving because we don't have tons of time. So our first test case was doing an introduction to our company, Equal Entry. And what we focused on with this test case was proper nouns and acronyms. These are things that don't do well with AI systems because AI systems don't know often words that are particular to a domain or to your life. So in my life, the word equal entry means a lot. It doesn't mean a lot maybe to the general public. And even words like Mac OS and iOS, these have specific ways they get spelled and written out, but they aren't words that would necessarily be translated by an AI system. VPAT, Voluntary Product Accessibility Template, for those of us that work in accessibility, that's a word we know, but that's, again, not a word that's optimized in these systems. We did W3C, we did WCAG, and we did A11Y NYC and A11Y Tokyo. Also, definitely not commonly used words. I'm going to switch to Meryl now to talk about some of the experiences with doing the test.
So I was born here in America. I am a native English speaker, yet there's one thing that automatic captions all agree on. They agree they don't like my accent. So, and I hail from nowhere. It's not a British accent, it's not a Texas accent, but I say y'all a lot to make up for it. So the caption in the screenshot show macOS, Windows, iOS, and Android. We produce accessibility conformance. That's the correct way. But the captions themselves say Mac, capitalized, OS, Windows, iOS, completely capitalized, and Android. We produce adaptability conforming. Make no sense. There are no commas. We is the start of a sentence, therefore it should be capitalized. And it's hard to figure out without the punctuation. Next example. the caption and the screenshot have just one wrong word and one word changed from improved to improved. And it's missing a short word, for. What I actually said was, we improve access to technologies for people with disabilities. The caption says, we improved access to technology the people with disabilities through. Pretty messy, huh? I mean, it's not a whole lot of changes, but it's enough to not make much sense. And then the last example, I promise, I can't help but laugh at this one. So the caption say that will include our funding related to the W3C work tag, the death criteria. So W3C work tag death criteria should be W3C WCAG, the death criteria. Although death criteria sounds more accurate because many of us know the WCAG is very hard to understand. So now it's your turn. Ignore what Thomas said earlier on how to pronounce. How do you pronounce A11Y? I'm just spelling it out. I'm not saying that's how you pronounce it. So we have 4 choices. 1 is A11Y. 2 is A11Y. 3 is ally as in alliance. And 4 is alley like bowling alley. So raise your hand if you do the first one, which is A11Y. Might say about half the room-ish raise their hand. And then how about number 2, A11Y? I'd say about a third, I think. And then number 3, ally. 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4. And then finally, alley, number 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so all right, it's whatever you want, but I love A11Y. For those who don't know, the reason it's A11Y is because there are 11 characters between the letter A and Y in accessibility. It's called a numeronym. Did I say that right? Okay. Okay. All right. I'm a random.
Yes, so, that's just one example of, I think, A11Y, ally. That's a real great example of, even with us in the room, how could an AI hear all of the different ways we say it and know it? That's already like something that needs to be addressed and considered and thought about, and currently isn't. And you can see in our test cases, it never got it right in how any of the 6 people that tested it pronounced it. Unless you said Accessibility New York City, the full word, that worked. But if you do anything else, it doesn't work. The next test case was just 100 random words. And we did this test case to say, does AI look at the context of how the words are being used? And we wanted to do this one just to try to confuse the AI in the sense that there is no context. It's just 100 random words. So on the screen, I have some of the 100 random words, and it's not meant to read all of these words, but there's words like psychedelic, mass, miniature. It's kind of weird when you pick 100 random words, by the way. We had to edit out some of the ones that came up.
We had to pick them, but that's not harmful.
Yes, and we had to consider, we wanted these 100 random words to have unique pronunciations because we wanted it to be something that should be deterministic for the AI. And here's an example of some of our results from our team, some of the ones that popped out that were interesting across the team. Abhorrent came up a point, adherent, and abhorrent, which I'm not familiar with that word. Chivalrous became shiver, she-wellness, and shivers. So depending on a person's accent, these were different people using the same AI engine. Foamy, for, and for me. So 2 times it said for me instead of foamy. And we had snobbish. I'll just jump to one last one. Cannabis, snobbish, and knowledge. So it was interesting just to do this. There's no context, so it actually does, I think from what we've seen, there's a little bit of context that goes into the AI, but it's actually not looking at the full sentence structure across any of them. I think it's only doing next and previous words. It's still our hypothesis. And we did see that with the 100 random words, it performed worse because there is nothing to pull from to make them better.
So the fact then is back. So we have a table of script of the words. The first one comes from the script, which is the correct word. Then YouTube, then Vimeo, and then Azure. So looking at my results, they got less than half. All 3 got less than half correct. So it's pretty sad. So I'm just sharing some that are so far off the mark that just make you laugh. So psychedelic, Vimeo thought I said back-adelic. Or Azure thought I said fat Cadillac. I'm not talking about cars here, y'all. Then disagree. YouTube got that one right. But then Vimeo and Azure, for some reason, think I said green. And I'm like, where does the N come from here? I didn't say there's a green. I said there's a green. And then Thomas already gave it away, snobbish. So YouTube just went silent. But I think it got high, so it forgot to caption the line. And then Vimeo did cannabis. So it probably affected YouTube that way. And then Azure was so lazy, it only did half of cannabis. Then finally, we have uppity. YouTube was probably so tired it did a 1-syllable I. Then Vimeo, they must have been smoking a lot because it said a body. And finally, Azure is a real winner with apparently. How uppity became apparently, I have no idea. And I hope it's obvious from me saying it.
All right, and our last test case was just using homophones, and we had fun with this to see if they are using the context of the word. A homophone is something that sounds the same but is spelled differently and has a different meaning. So there, T-H-E-R-E, there, T-H-E-I-R, and there, T-H-E-Y apostrophe R-E. We created a set of 100 words that used these cases. I was very happy with this image we made for this. It probably wasn't explained well as advertising this meetup, but we worked with Lila Ash to create this. It's a mashup of the idea of Bart Simpson writing on the chalkboard and a New Yorker style of illustration. And what we did was show that we put in, we're supposed to say, I bought 10 tin cans. So on the recognition of that word, we had different spellings. We had, I bought 10 pin cans, and sometimes 10 is spelled as 10, sometimes 10 is spelled T-E-N. And that was another just interesting thing is the plural and non-plural came up in our results. So in different people's accents, the plural of a word came up as a big difference, I think, for people that were native English speakers and non-native English speakers, just from what we observed in our study so far. And now?
Right. So here I have a video of 4 four versions of me. I'm sorry, so much of me. So it's for back the same video. We have in the upper left corner is the script, which is the correct version. Below that is Whisper. And then upper right is Azure. And below that is YouTube. So I have heard from some friends who have ADHD and other disabilities that watching a video like this is overwhelming. So if this bothers you, you might want to look away for a little bit or just think about something else. And I'm going to play a little bit of it and then I'll pause through it. This video is online. It will be in the resources if you want to watch it yourself in slow-mo so you can compare. But you'll get the idea from watching, and I'll get the results later. I don't want to spoil anything. Oh, we'll help the house down.
Yeah.
They ate candy. And need to go by the store to buy things. So bye for now. They're meeting their parents over there. Did you hear they're coming here? One person named Ron runs the lottery. Do your homework before us do. What's Rich is here? Will you two go to the party too? So can you show a picture of a plane? Please write about the Wright brothers right now. It may pique your interest to go to the mountain peak and take a peek. All right, so you saw the winners. The best one was Whisper, followed by Azure, and I don't think YouTube deserves anything, period. So YouTube roll-up captions are bad enough as is, and they were way behind, as you probably, and Whisper had the most accurate words. Whisper and Azure, I really appreciated they were not roll-up, which is moving caption. Anything like a recording should not be animated caption. It should be pop-in, traditional. The only time that roll-up caption is justifiable is in live programming, because captioning live programming is so hard to do that I tend not to watch things live because it's just hard to take it in. It's a lot of cognitive overload. I bought 10 cans. Oh, not me again. Okay, so I am going to talk briefly about caption file type. There are many caption file types, but most of us will use SRT, which is subtitle. You can see why we call it SRT. And then WebVTT, which is Web Video Text Track. And so the many more that are out there is mostly professional entertainment, like TV, movies. They have a lot more options. But these are the ones you and I will use and what the platform take. So let's look under the hood. This is an example of the SRT file. It has sequence number, so it will appear in order. The caption appears first, second, third, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After each sequence number is the time code. The first time code is when the captions show up. Followed by the second time code is when the captions go away. And then the caption appears after the time code. Very simple. SRT is like the most basic. VTT is basically SRT on steroids. So it is based off SRT, but takes it another level. Just like HTML uses CSS to be more for adding color and positioning and all that stuff. Anyway, WebVTT has WebVTT at the top of the file. And then it has kind caption, language English. Now, WebVTT does not have to have sequence numbers. It is optional. It will work with them and it will work without them. Personally, I don't. I like that don't have them. It makes it cleaner and easier to read. And then it's followed by the time code. start of the caption, end of the caption, and then the caption. The time code is different about one thing. The millisecond is the comma in the SRT, it has the comma. And the VTT has the period, which I found more readable. And now, the one thing VTT can be useful for is positioning. So if you have an ungreased text or something at the bottom of a caption typically appear, you can send the caption up top temporarily so you can see both. It's very important to make it easy for people to see both. Don't make them strain or turn off the caption, see what's behind it. So I'm going to show you a video, very short, that will describe what's going on. Oh, whoops, didn't work. Oh, this is a screenshot, my bad. I thought we had the video in here. Oh, whatever. Okay, oh, it is a screenshot because as you see, my name's on the bottom, and at the top is the caption. And the way I made that happen is simply adding line colon 0 right after the second time code. Okay, time to wrap up with recommendation. Now, we're going to talk about why line length and line division matter. So here are two side-by-side videos of me. One has edited caption, accurate edited caption. The other has automatic caption based on, it did the line break. I did not test the line break. I did not test the line division. I did not test anything. The only thing I touched was to make it accurate. Because if you have it inaccurate, it makes it very hard to see the difference. So I'm going to play the video again. There are two videos playing at the same time, if you want to look away.
We improve access to technology for people with disabilities through our review of websites and applications on Mac OS, Windows, iOS, and Android. We produce accessibility conformance report, sometimes called VPAC, that will include our findings related to the W3C webcast success criteria.
So a good example of how you don't want to break things, for example, W3C and WCAG should be next to each other because it's part of that. When you split it up, it kind of affects the cognitive understanding of it. And then you don't want to split up a person's first and last name, so you don't want Meryl on the first line, then Evan at the start of the second line. They need to stay together. Those are just simple examples. Caption and Key has an excellent guide on line division, and we will provide the resource at the end. And now, Thomas.
All right, and so another piece that we're going to just be promoting is this ability to add custom vocabulary. Obviously, personalization in an AI engine potentially costs money, but as we showed in our first test case, depending on where we work and the language we use and the acronyms and proper nouns in our life, we're going to have custom vocabulary. So this is something that exists in some software, such as Dragon Naturally Speaking and Descript. And so one recommendation or thing to advocate for, I believe in the future, is for these mainstream solutions like YouTube and Vimeo, Whisper, to have this capability, because as we show, it's not going to be able to work in a general sense. It is going to be more specific to the areas that we work, and it's going to have to be that way.
So our recommendation is make progress in creating high quality caption. As I always say, as y'all know, I say a lot. Progress over perfection. I'm wearing the shirt to back it up. And I have the all accessibility in there. So when I say make progress, so I'm like step 1, add caption. Step 2, make sure they're accurate. So that's making progress. So we don't expect perfection on the first try. And then next is review and edit automatic caption and make it part of your workflow. So when you create a workflow for creating videos, you want to make sure that you check the captions for accuracy. And then I would like for all of us to contact AI captioning services to encourage them to think about programming caption length, line division, and as Thomas said, give us the way to add custom vocabulary. We know it's doable because there are some services that do it. And then finally, contact companies that have no caption and ask for them. Once in a while, I'll see a video on Twitter that I'm like, it should be captioned. And I'll say to the company nicely, that's what publishers are real perfection about. Because they don't think about it. You have to remember, we live and breathe accessibility every day. Companies don't. Or the people putting out the video, marketing team doesn't, or whoever. So if you act nicely, they have come through. Anyway, also I mentioned, with YouTube, that one needs a little different approach because they've got to fix the sentences, the capitalization, the punctuation, and the roll-up. So I contacted Google owns YouTube, so I contacted Google Accessibility, and they wrote right back. It was amazing. And they asked me a few follow-up questions, and I replied, and they said they don't know when they'll get back to me, but if they don't have any more follow-up questions, they were going to send it to the next team to review it. So I have a link to how you can contact Google Accessibility. It was easy, and I made it easy for y'all. It's copy and paste. So you can just copy and paste it and send it off. After all, the more people who speak up about it, the more they realize we have a need for this. So take us to the finish line, Thomas.
Okay, all right. And I really wanted to highlight this as like the last point because, part of our work is try to figure out how to be practical and make results. I really wanted to share what Netflix does as I think a really interesting thing to learn from for captioning quality. So Netflix has high captioning standards. That happened related to lawsuits and advocacy and things, but now Netflix has created a model to have high captioning standards across a lot of different languages. And I think maybe the main takeaway that I have that I think you can apply in your organization if you're doing any type of long form video content.
I want to mention one thing. What I love about that article from Netflix is they said captions and subtitles are a primary asset, not a secondary. But they even admit they treated it as a secondary once upon a time.
And from a process point of view, what I like is they basically, let's say 2 to 3 minutes, they call it a few minutes, but the idea is a Netflix piece of content probably could range from like 20 minutes to 2.5 hours. The process is pick a random 2 to 3 minutes, check the quality of the captions in the language. If it doesn't, those 2 to 3 minutes don't meet the criteria, you kick it back. And then the next time it comes back, pick a different 2 to 3 minutes, right? And so you're having a process where I don't think it's reasonable to expect to watch the entire video for every piece of content. So I like this idea that if you sort of randomly put that into the process, it's a way to like improve the quality. And maybe if you're working with a vendor that's supplying the captions, you can say, look, here's how we work. Like Netflix works this way. If you don't have great captions in the 3 minutes we check, we kick it back to you. When you get it back to us, we're going to check a different 3 minutes. It's got to be good. So I think that's like business-wise a smart way to work. And so I just wanted to make sure we highlighted that. I think you could really use that in your organizations if you work with a lot of multimedia content, because a lot of people are going to push back to watching hours and hours of content. So this is more practical. And do you care? I put this in there because, I think I I think this is just so important from everything we do in accessibility. But as we said, we'd like to ask people, right, advocate and push for these changes. I think, Meryl was saying YouTube's had lowercase and no punctuation, right, for many years. So for quality captioning, I think for us to get these improved, you do have to make your voice heard and send in feedback. So we want to really always push that with our meetup and encourage everyone. We'll try to make that easy too for people, but really want you to note that it's obviously not good enough now. And like we said at MJ, our experience is definitely not good enough. So push for change. We have a link to the resources. And again, we'll send this out on the meetup page and on LinkedIn. And I think now we just want to say thank you very much. I know we are kind of close. We're already over a little bit on time, but we can take a few questions and
testing the mic here. Oh, it works. Okay, who's the mic runner?
Me.
Any questions in the room? And we'll also take some from YouTube as well, but let's take a couple in the room.
How did you choose the tools you were going to test, and did you only test free tools?
We did not only test free tools, so the question was how did we choose the tools that we were going to test? We basically were trying to find tools that we could work with an API because we wanted to develop it and make it coded. Whisper was manual for what we did, and we only did that because of the attention to OpenAI. But with Vimeo, YouTube, and Azure, we could automate it. So that way we could keep this going. So this is, for us, the beginning of the process, and we'll hopefully be able to try it more.
So sorry if this is a off-topic question, but something I've spent a lot of time struggling with is trying to get different platforms to kind of like use a screen reader to read captions out loud. And usually for me, it's like foreign language and so on. But I was just wondering, and it seems like it's very inconsistent, and a few places will let you do it, and it's very hard to find the settings, and et cetera, et cetera. I wonder if you know anything about that, or if there's any discussion of that, or if that's even not really something that anyone's aware of that much. Or
I don't have a lot of details on that functionality. I know there are screen readers that will read the captions in one language, but I'm not sure about other languages.
I wasn't sure if I heard the question correctly. So I know for a fact that Refreshable Braille reader can read the caption on YouTube through the transcript. But for example, Zoom has transcript, they're not compatible with that. So we need to see more things like YouTube transcript. That's the one thing YouTube does very well. Screen readers are not compatible with basic captions. They basically need the transcript. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
There were two platforms I was surprised you didn't go for, and one was Facebook, which I use quite a lot on LiveStream, and my mind's gone blank on what the other one was. Web Captioner, which uses Google Translate, and it's interesting if you actually look at I've compared YouTube live captions to YouTube encoded captions, and they're two different things because I think it's closer. But what I have wondered about is how much it's possible to crowdsource, corrections on captions. And I know that there was, what's it called, Amura, I forget the name, that they do the TED Talk things. But if there isn't a system like it used to be that didn't capture help with optical recognition, because every time you did a capture, you fixed a piece of optical of OCR. So couldn't there be kind of like systems of like where you just get everybody to like correct captions through some kind of repetitive task that they have to do to get from A to B or something like that, you know what I mean? Or voluntarily, do a minute a day or 3 minutes a day.
I just say, I think that's all great points, and part of us doing this is all these ideas. I think more needs to happen. I think we do have even the ability, I think already with ALI New York, see I said Alley, New York. A11Y, New York. Accessibility, New York. I think we have a way for you to submit, but we don't actually have a workflow or process for that. So it's actually a great point. I think that's something that is a big opportunity. How do you crowdsource it or say, well, 3 people said change this, or instead of 1 person said change this. Those things might exist. I'm not aware of them now, and I think that's a definite opportunity.
So this might actually be a better question for the next meetup, but with generative AI being the topic du jour, will the text-to-video platforms come with captioning in the videos, or is that something that's a great unknown right now?
Text-to-video platforms, what do you mean specifically?
So the way that DALL-E creates images from text, in the next few months or maybe in the next year, there'll be platforms where you can put in text and a video will be produced. So have you heard of anything about, if those videos will come captioned or thought about for accessibility at all?
Yeah, I have not seen that, but it does make sense that you can integrate in I think there are some startups that are doing these mashups using the APIs to do things like that, but I don't think it's, as far as I know, not built into the platform now, but it should be. And at least, again, maybe it's not going to be worthwhile if you take the images that we showed at the top. If you have the alt text for that, you're like, well, that shouldn't have been the image that we used anyway. Yes, and video will have several images, so it's questionable, but I think it's definitely something to look at and yes, should be considered.
I'm going to guess that they're going to do moving video first that's silent, and then the talkies will come later.
It seems like a lot of the testing you did are where the system has time to process and kind of come up with the captioning. And I'm wondering if you noticed any quality difference between like YouTube versus Google Meets, where it's doing the live captioning on the spot.
I do think that, as Jolie mentioned, there's definitely different APIs being used between the YouTube transcription and Google Meet. So if you look at the comparison, but we didn't do that as part of this work, but it is definitely not the same from what we've seen.
I was asking the same thing because I have a connection at Google, and I said Google Chrome and Google Live Caption on the Android have way better captions than YouTube, and guess what? YouTube comes under Google as well. But somebody made an excellent point. Those millions and millions of minutes of video on YouTube. Where Chrome is on a per user basis, they may not have it on all the time. It's not always video. And same thing with the phone. It's only captioning just one thing in my hand, not for everybody in the world. So I see where it can be a mismatch. And plus, YouTube was not always owned by Google. So it is a mammoth of a company, and sometimes making change takes time.
And I'll just add one other quick observation. Just the literal timing between phonemes of speaking words and having the people with different, English as a second language. I could see just from the tests we did, little extra spaces in time, which don't seem like a lot listening, but in the coded system, it seemed to make a big difference. Like the more time was put between the phoneme, it was more likely to be another word. And again, I think that goes to whatever it's trained on is a model that doesn't have all of those considerations. But we did sort of observe that.
And one other point I want to make, when people talk about translation, the line that I aim for is 32. Okay, I'm not perfect every time that I get 32, but sometimes I do 34 and 36 at the max. But the reason I keep it short is for other reasons, that if you're translating to a different language, the other language may be really long. Because I remember when I did my TED Talk, and Makoto in Japan was so generous to create a Japanese version of a video I wanted, and I was shocked by how big the captions were and how long they were, because the Japanese language is different from the English language, and that really taught me something about translation.
I was bummed to hear about your experience at the theater. And I'm wondering, the company that you used, was that the in-house one that every theater offers, or was that an external service?
No, it was Gallup, which many theaters use, so it's owned by Schubert organization. So, and I think there's a couple of shows that don't even use Gallup because I was trying to find out about Some Like It Hot, and they didn't show up in the Gallup app. So I finally found out not long before I left for New York that they do have captions, and I'm guessing they do something different. I don't know. But the Gallup is not theater specific. It's an app that they even used in North Carolina. A colleague of ours uses the Gallup in North Carolina. So it's just up to the theater what they use.
And also, we did sort of pick the show we went to from looking at Gallup Pro. So we were like, oh, let's look only at the list of shows that are in this app, assuming if it's in the app, it's going to work. So.
And I made sure it was a show I had never seen, didn't know the lyrics. I mean, if I thought Chicago, I would be all drunk. Don't get me started, I'll start dancing. I love doing all that jazz, so I was trying to do something. Even though I'm a child that grew up on Michael Jackson, it's been a long time since I listened to a lot of his music, but still, I didn't know the storyline or anything. So, but of course, that didn't go well.
Yeah, hi. This is not a question really, but for the fact that you mentioned that Netflix uses a process to test, right? Like for the videos, like you see 3 minutes of it and randomly check. So I think we should also. Oh. Okay.
They're better than Gallup.
Oh, ta-da!
So we saw way more of these captions. It was the opposite. There's a time that it was off. That's about the time I saw something on the Gallup Pro. And about continue, please.
Yeah. So we also are working on unstructured documents. So when you have a problem with screen readers, right, to read those unstructured documents, like how Patrick was telling, maybe not different languages, but at least the R's and N's and tables where there are, it doesn't really capture it. So if I need to test a 60-page document for a screen reader, whether it really accurately reads it well, it is a challenge with our tool. So maybe these tips what you gave is very useful. I think we will also incorporate it and see how it works. Yeah. Thank you.
I agree. It's always trying to figure out how can you make it not seem so daunting and put things into the process that people will buy into in an organization, and maybe it's easier to get people to buy into that. Maybe it still has the same result because you'll find probably a problem. If it has problems, you probably will find a problem on 3 pages out of the 60 pages. So yeah, I agree.
There's some comments on YouTube. Dawn Shackett says, can you do a live stream about captions used in meeting software like WebEx, Google Meet, Zoom, etc. next time? Someone says that our YouTube captions look very good, which is, what about automated captions for work meetings? Did you test them? Any thoughts on supply for captioning? Do you have any information on how to optimize captions for WebEx? Where to find that Netflix article? Would love to learn more. How do we contact Google Accessibility? What's the link? Can you post it in the chat?
Okay, let's pause here. Yeah, I'm not a machine. Unfortunately, I'm not an AI machine. But yes, we are going to mostly have the responses to the resources and how to contact in the resources page that will be shared out on social media and was displayed in the QR code in the presentation. Yeah, if this code, if you scan that, that will take you to the web page.
It should work for those on YouTube. It should work for those on YouTube, though. Scan the QR code and then click the link that popped up, and it'll take you to other resources we talked about.
And I think we've definitely taken up a lot of the time today, so we will follow up with everyone after this meetup. We want to again say, though, that all the captions you were seeing on the YouTube stream were human captions from the amazing Mirabai Knight. And thank you so much to Mirabai. And we also want to say, again, back to the top, just thanks to the sponsors, and sorry for this animation. Equal Entry, Google, Internet Society of New York, Jolie McPhee, who's been streaming us to YouTube, Asana, Fable, and Evinced. We thank all of these companies for helping us create an accessible meetup. We also say thank you to our sign language interpreter tonight for having great sign language, and we really appreciate that as well. We have our next event coming up in February, which you can find on our meetup page. It will also be hosted in the same space here, and it's going to be the same requirements for security and signing up, but you're also always welcome to join on YouTube. We always make the events available on the live stream to participate.
I have an announcement more than a question, if that's okay.
Sure, we'll end with an announcement from Sharon Horn. Be amazing.
Well, first of all, thank you, Dylan. You're amazing. And thank you to Thomas and Meryl. I learned so much, as always, as I always do from you. Just wanted to, I don't know where to send this, but someone at Estee Lauder announced that basically their hackathon is live, their 5th annual hackathon, and there's a tech track, but also a non-tech track for any people who are not in tech that might have some ideas for how to make beauty more accessible. Yeah, so I'd be happy to send that along, but I wanted to let people know they're accepting submissions. So to be continued. All right. Love you all.
Yeah, send it to me and I'll add it to the page. Thank you.
No. Okay, please.